Welcome to Life Coaching on the Move. I'm your host, Dawn Fiske. Welcome along. If you're new to this series, then I wanted to say thank you for giving me a chance to talk to you and for giving me the time. If you're a regular follower and listener, thank you so much for keep coming back too. Either way, please, if you like today's episode, please share it, share a link to it, or tell your friends about it, or put it on your social media, because I'm hearing more and more from people that it's just what they need. It's helped them just at a time they've needed it. And if that's the case for you or them, then it could well be a case for one or two of your friends. And I really, really want to be able to help more people if I can, just by spreading the word. So if you are able to share it and let people know, I would be hugely grateful. There are 80 previous episodes on a whole range of different subjects, so there will be something there for everybody. Of course, I want to wish you all a very, very happy new year. I admit that you may not be listening to this in real time, but if you are, then happy new year. I hope you had a lovely Christmas and a lovely break, and I hope you're feeling strong and determined for 2021. My mission is to help you make it a good year, support you along the way. I think there are still some challenges ahead of us, but we can do this together. We will get through, and my plan is to help you. In so doing, it helps me too. Often when I'm talking to you guys, I'm talking to myself as well and reminding myself. So this is all ongoing progress for me too. Today's episode is all about the power of leaving the past in the past, where it should be really, particularly the negative traumatic experiences, and how by letting go of those, we can free ourselves up for a much, much healthier present and future. I hope it helps you. I do mention 2 workshops coming up this week, tomorrow, Tuesday, and on Thursday. Tomorrow I've got a 7-week life skills workshop starting tomorrow night, and on Thursday I've got a 3-week stress management workshop. So if either of those 2 will be of help to you, visit the website www.milestone-coaching.co.uk. There are currently places available, although I have got a couple of emails I need to reply to, so things are changing rapidly. So if you are interested, drop me an email, dawn@milestone-coaching.co.uk. It's on the website. So too is the workshops, and you can sign up there, or you can email me direct. Let's crack on to this week's episode of Life Coaching on the Move, the power of leaving the past in the past. I want to start today's podcast by asking you a question, get you thinking. What experience in your past do you regularly think about? Is there anything in your past, a particular event or events or experiences, memories that you relive? Maybe powerfully so, maybe too much. Those are the ones I'm thinking about, not just recalling memories, but something that haunts you. Do you have something in your past that you regularly think about, that haunts you, that still affects you, that you think about regularly, that is really still present because of that is really still part of your everyday life? Now, the reason I ask this, and the reason I'm talking about this today, is because I was only just covering this with a client just a couple of days ago. And it triggered me to think about some teaching that I had, a course that I was on, and what I witnessed in that training, and how powerful it was just to witness. And so I shared it with the client, and they also equally found it profoundly helpful, even though they weren't even there, and even though it wasn't on them. So I thought, well, if it's helped me and it's helped my client, it could also help all of you. So I thought I would share it with you. Because today we are talking about the power of leaving the past in the past and freeing yourself of it. And many people I know have something significantly upsetting or traumatizing or affecting in their past that is still present today. in their lives, and will therefore continue to be tomorrow and next week and next month and next year and years, if they carry on as they have previously without questioning it. Because I believe what we do, we just carry these things, like I've said before, like a rucksack with a big heavy block in it, carry it around with us, sometimes for a few weeks, months, years, sometimes for the rest of our life. And why do we do this? Now, the profound experience that I had about this was, have any of you heard of Paul McKenna? I'm guessing many of you have. Paul McKenna is usually mostly known for his hypnotic stage, his antics on stage, where he gets entertaining, in an entertaining way. He gets a whole group of volunteers out of the audience, up on the stage, and he hypnotizes them, and he makes them act like chickens or Elvis Presley, that sort of thing. And it's all for entertainment, and that's what he's mostly known for. But that is sad in a sense, because that is not what he's really skilled at. That's not where his strengths are particularly. He is an incredibly talented NLP practitioner, hypnotist, hypnotherapist, trainer, for training other people in hypnotherapy and NLP. He's a coach, therapist, etc. Now, and not many people know that. And he is actually a leading founding father in that field. And he does some phenomenal training programs together with Richard Bandler, who is the leading founding father in NLP and hypnotherapy and areas like that. Very serious work, very, very helpful work, very life-changing work for their clients. Or their students. And I was there watching both of them in London on a training program as a student, learning lots of those techniques. And within this session, he was teaching us all about how to help people to let go of their past, in particular traumatic experiences that are still present for them now. And the way he did it was incredible, really. Very quick, in terms of how long these people have been suffering and struggling with their memories. So what he did, he asked the audience to raise their hand if any of them had something in their past, years ago in their past, that was still haunting them now, still holding them back now, still upsetting them, holding back their future, impacting on everything now. And worryingly, actually, quite a few hands went up. Not surprisingly, but worrying that people are carrying these things around. And we do often, I think, remember in particular the negative experiences. We can recall those so swiftly, can't we? If I were to say to you now, where were you? What memories do you have of 9/11? I'm certain you will remember where you were when you heard the news, what you did thereafter, where you went and watched it, who you were with, what you said, what you felt, how the next few days panned out for you, how it impacted on you, because it was deeply traumatic. Just witnessing it on the news hundreds of miles away here in the UK was deeply affecting. But do you remember the day before? Do you remember what you did the day before 9/11 or the week before? Do you remember any events prior to that, the fortnight before? Just an ordinary day, busy at work. Do you recall those? Do you recall who you were with, what you said? Probably not. But around that significant event, you can probably vividly recall all of that. Most of us remember where we were, who we were with when we found out that Princess Diana had been killed. No matter what our views were of Princess Diana, we can still remember when we heard that news. But do we remember the week before? Probably not. So this is what happens in our life, the negative events. And admittedly, you'll remember the happy events. You'll remember the day your child was born, of course, your wedding day and things like that. But I believe that the really upsetting ones are so easily recalled, and all the things that went around it and who you were with and so on. much, much more so than the ordinary, because they've affected us, they've hooked in. So Richard Bandler and Paul McKenna were working on this on stage and training us. Anyway, so we got a show of hands from the audience, and a few of them were questioned from the stage, not about the event. At no point did they have to at all share and open up what the event was. And this is what they did. They focused on, once they picked a person to come up on stage and to be the demonstration, really, the guinea pig, for want of a better phrase, to come up and be helped with this trauma, to have it shrunk down and reduced down and no longer to hook into them. And the way he did it, really, was to say to them, roughly what age were you? Very roughly. Now, let's say that person was, say, 23. And he asked, how old are you now? And let's say they said 40. And he said to them, okay, so do you feel, how often do you think about this? And she, I think it was a she, the first time I saw this, I've seen it several times now since. How often do you think about this event? And she said daily. And he said, okay, daily, every single day since that 23 years. Yes. And you're now 40. Yes. Okay. So how long per day on average would you say, scattered around the day, would you say how many minutes or hours do you find yourself actually thinking about that event? And let's say she said 20 minutes per day. I've just sat and done the maths. He was very clever. He pretty much did the maths there and then on stage. But I've just done the maths. So if she was 23 and she's been now thinking about it for 17 years on a daily basis for 20 minutes. That equates to she has invested at least 1,241 solid hours reliving that event. That equates to 52 days, which is almost 2 solid months, night and day, dwelling on that event. And he said to her, and do you think, therefore, because you've been doing that for 17 years, do you think what will happen tomorrow? And she said, well, the same. Next week, the same. Next month, the same. In 5 years, probably the same. I've got no reason to think it will be any different. She accepted and admitted that it is much more likely that she is going to continue to do that. And he said, well, do you reckon, are you planning to live to 75? And she said, yeah, I certainly hope so. I'm planning to take care of myself and live a healthy life. And yes, so unless something awful happens, I'm very hopeful that I will live to at least 75. And he said, right, okay, let's do the maths. So from your age now at 40 to 75, that's another 35 years. Agreed? Yes, I agree, she said. And that's, so 35 years, you've got 365 days in a year. And he must have some phenomenal mental maths, but he came up with a figure, and I've just done it with a calculator. Let's say, for argument's sake, that's 12,775 days, which, if she's going to give it 20 minutes a day for all of that time, she is going to dedicate 106 days at least of her future, solid days, day and night, which is over 3 months, nearly 3.5 months, solid day and night, thinking about that event that she's already spent 52 days thinking about, that is hanging around her neck since she was 23 and has done for 17 years. She has committed to giving 20 minutes a day to. And he said, has it changed anything at all, those 17 years that you've been thinking about that event? No. Has it helped in any way? No. And yet you are agreed that you are still going to continue and dedicate a further at least 35 years thinking about it on a daily basis, equating to at least 106 days, solid days and nights. What could you do with that time, he said? What could you do if you had an extra 106 solid days and nights to dedicate to something else? Solid, with no sleep. So if you took out sleep and you took out weekends, how many weeks could that be? And that could be weeks and weeks. What could you do? Could you set up a business? Could you write a book? Could you do charity work? Could you lay on a beach holidaying, etc.? Could you get fit? If you spent that time elsewhere on some other project, and take out the sleep and take out the other chores, how much better would your life be if you could invest that same time on something productive, helpful? Could you learn a skill? Could you learn a language? What could you do? Could you learn to cook, to sew, drawing, anything? Climb a mountain, achieve your innermost goals, whatever it is. And you could see the light bulb go on in her. Or, he said, or you could spend those days, weeks, months just sitting, reliving that experience. And what will you get from that? Nothing. Nothing at all. What would you get if you invested that time elsewhere? Etc., etc. And he then said, and he was very, very confrontational in a friendly way, but he took no nonsense, and it was his confrontational, no nonsense kind of manner that was as equally as powerful as making her see what a waste of time and effort and emotion it was. And he said, so you're planning then to invest that time in the future. You've given yourself permission because you're not accepting that there's anything else you can do. You've never considered that you could stop. You're resigned to the fact that you're going to do that. And he actually said something along the lines of, what kind of shit decision is that for your future? And it made her laugh. And interestingly, making her laugh instantly changed her state and her emotion around it, and that's really key as well. And this will come back in a second. We can change our state and our emotion at any point. Now, he did that on purpose. He changed her state by making her slightly shocked, and then make her laugh, and slight hysteria, and it made all the audience laugh. We all laughed because he went down a path we weren't expecting him to go. And he said, Is it a wise decision, or is it a really shit decision? What would you say to somebody else? And he really confronted her, and she had to admit, yeah, it's insane. It's crazy. And he said, so why are you doing it? And he left the silence. And you could have heard a pin drop in the room. I mean, there were hundreds of people in this room as well. It was a big hotel conference centre in London. And it was so powerful. Now, I share that with you because it's true of us, isn't it? We will relive events. They could be huge, traumatic, impactful. I don't know what yours are. Or they could be small and insignificant, where you made a fool of yourself somewhere, or you said the wrong thing at a meeting, or you cringe when you think about some reply you gave, or a presentation that you messed up on, and you died on your feet and you messed up your presentation or your slides, or an interview that you completely fluffed. It doesn't matter. But if you're reliving it, why? Why are you investing that time? I have so many clients that come here for public speaking or confidence around presentations or interviews, getting them ready for interviews for a career. And so frequently, they lost their confidence along the way because they fluffed up on something, but they're reliving it. And so that one experience is still current in their present day, and therefore in their future, because it's impacting on them. So for you, when I ask that question, what is it that you relive, that you carry around with you in that rucksack, that is still now present, despite it being 2 years ago or 17 months ago, or in this case 17 years ago, or whatever? Why are we doing that? Why are we reliving it? What is it doing for us? Absolutely nothing. And so then he carried on and carried out an NLP technique on her, where he got her to see that movie in her head. Still, he didn't even know what the event was. And the important thing is, he didn't need to know. In fact, he didn't want her to tell us, because she would, by telling us, be reliving it yet again. And his belief is you don't need to keep reliving it. You know it hurts. It hurt. You don't need to redo it. You don't need to whack your toe on the end of the bed again to know that it hurt yesterday when you did it. You know it hurts. He didn't want her to relive it, particularly, and share it with us and bring all that emotion up. He wants her to let it go and move on. And so, he did an NLP technique, which I can't do because we're on the podcast and not here. But roughly speaking, it's where you run that movie in your head and then you rewind it fast. Like the old video players that we used to have, when we press rewind, you'd see the film going all backwards really fast, all the actors going backwards, and then he'd get her to run it fast forward and then backwards and fast forward and backwards, and keep re-scrambling the memory in her brain, basically re-scrambling the programming in her brain. And then he would, to lose impact, change it from colour to black and white because it's less impactful, and then he would get her to shrink it down in size. So instead of it being a vivid movie in her head, sort of like a big screen, a multiplex cinema, reduce it right down to a little tiny TV, down into a little screen on a phone, down into a tiny little postage stamp. So it's now black and white, it's tiny, and then he would move it further away, so it was further and further. So it's, and so she could really, really let that memory go. But for us in the audience, we didn't have that power, and yet it really, really hooked into me and with my client just a couple of days ago, just the insaneness of why are we allowing ourselves and our brain to relive something over and over again vividly and be part of our everyday life, and accept that we're going to continue it, which is insanity in itself, for days and days and weeks and weeks and months and months and months and years, all for our whole future. The moment someone says, as I did to the client, why are you doing it? What's it giving you? What's it going to continue to give it? That she could then see the power of, it's giving me nothing, it's crazy, it's holding me back, it's affecting me, why am I doing it? And it's only when someone stops and asks us that we can then consciously choose, I don't want to do this, I don't want to carry it around, I want to let it go. So on one of my podcasts in the past, I talked about the power of knowing your why. When you're aiming for a goal, or you're doing a challenge, or you're going for a new job or whatever, it's knowing your why, so that when you get wobbly days and moments of self-doubt, you can remind yourself of the why. So if you're training for a marathon, you've signed up for the first time ever, and you're not really a runner, and you think, why have I done this? And you're halfway through the training and everything's hurting, and you get moments of self-doubt. Can I do this? And why am I doing this? And the knowing your why, knowing I did it because I'm 40 this year and I wanted to challenge myself and prove I can do it, and I want to raise £1,000 for the Heart Foundation, and knowing all of that will keep you going. Or writing a book, you want to write a book, or you want to write a stage show, or you want to learn to dance, or whatever. Knowing your why, what it's going to give you in the end, how you're going to feel when you've got there, etc., what it's going to bring your life, will keep you on track. So there is an importance of knowing the why when you're aiming for something. And that's why I think this is so profound and so powerful, because somebody has asked you or me, why are you doing that? And then we are forced to think and realize, I don't know. There is no reason why I keep reliving it. What's it giving you? It's actually giving me nothing. What are the consequences of it? Well, it's actually holding me back. It's chipping away at my doubt. It's feeding my self-doubt. It's feeding my fears. It's feeding my anxiety. It's knocking my confidence. It's knocking my belief. So why are you doing it? Because it's us doing it to us. We are in charge, and we can therefore change and choose to stop doing it. The person I was working with in the follow-up session had really reflected on that and had time to process that and mull it over and realize, no, this is doing nothing for me. Instead of looking back, I need to look at the future. I need to drive my future in a much happier, healthier, more in controlled way. So we can now, once we've decided this is insane, this is mad, this is fruitless, worthless, destructive and unhealthy, we can then, once we've realised that, we can change our why, and our why can become the future. We can start identifying what can help us move forward. We can accept that the past is in the past, let it go, and physically turn and look at the future. Now that is, and I say physically turn because those sorts of things are incredibly powerful, particularly in NLP. I mentioned earlier changing our state. Often when I'm working with a client and using NLP techniques, or if we've been working on something and their energies and their mood and their emotion has gone very low, it's my job to keep people up, or at least lift them up towards the end of the meeting, so that I always pride myself on leaving them optimistic and on a high, feeling good. Don't ever want anybody to end a meeting, which is why I don't watch the clock actually, and at the end of an hour say, right, time up. I can't bear that. That's not the way I work. If we're involved in something, I will keep going until I've managed to lift their energies and lift their emotions back up to a really healthy, optimistic, positive feeling. Leaving them on a high is my phrase, but I don't mean that in a Pollyanna high. I mean just feeling optimistic and in control and feeling better. And often one of the techniques that we're taught in NLP is you can literally, if somebody is very stuck in a negative state, in emotion, you can quite literally change their emotion by throwing the most bizarre question at them to stop their thought patterns, to break the pattern. You can literally just say to them, when they're least expecting it, in the midst of in their state, you could say something like, what did you have for breakfast this morning? Or, and they'll look at you really puzzled. Where did that come from? What? I had, and you've broken their state. You've got them thinking completely differently, broken their state. Or you can get them to literally stand up, and you'll say, stand up for a second, and you can get them to do something physical. I don't know, you could, in lots of these that's why in lots of these motivational conferences, often they'll put in between activities, they'll put fast beat music on. They might get you to do some activity, something funny and jokey activity in the middle. They're changing your state, and we can do that. The only reason I'm saying that to you is that you can do that at any time. So if you are choosing now to let go of this negative past memory, to stop reliving it, when you find that you are about to relive it, or you find yourself there, or you can start doing things for your future. Start focusing on your future. You can start meditating on your future and your future goals and your hopes and all of those images. So you can meditate on your future. You can journal on your future. You can write goals for your future. You can just spend time daydreaming about your future. You can talk about it, you can design it, you can create it. You can literally stand up and turn and look at the other corner of the wall and see that as your future. Stop looking at the past, turn away from it, and literally turn around and see, what do I see in my future? If you find yourself going downhill and your mood and your emotions going downhill at any point, at any point during the day, especially if you're working from home at the moment, you find yourself on a low energy, get up, stand up, shake it all about, quite literally. Do some running on the spot, do some standing, put some music on and dance for just 3-minute record, something like that. You can, and that changes your state. Or you can jump on the spot or do some stretches and some exercise. But if you put upbeat music on for just 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, something like that, and actually physically move, you physically will change your state. So we are in control of our moods, we are in control of our emotions, we're in control of what we focus on and what we turn away from and what we let go and what we draw on for the future. So you can now, if this resonated with you, decide now, it's very, very early on in January. Happy New Year. I meant to say that actually for all of you. Decide that for this year, you're going to let that go. That's in the past. That's in previous years, not in 2021. This is the new way you're going to approach things. You're going to leave that where it was, accept it's in the past, and now focus on the future. Change your state every time you find that you're being drawn back. Change your state, change your mood. Focus on the future, meditate on the future, work on it, design it, write it out. Get professional help if you need to. Talk to somebody if you need to. Practice yoga. Go out and exercise at lunchtime or something to change your state and focus on what you want to think about rather than this kind of ball and chain anchor that's keeping you back in the past. So I hope that's really, really helped you. That's a great start to the year. Speaking of which, tomorrow, this goes out on Monday, the 4th of January. Tomorrow, Tuesday the 5th, tomorrow night at 7 p.m. in British summertime, I'm starting a 7-week confidence and life skills program. So if you want to sign up for that, you've just literally got about 24 hours to drop me an email and I can send you confirmation that there is a space, hopefully by then, and we can go from there really. So it's a 7-week life skills and confidence workshop from any age really of about 13 up, although I do say if there are mostly adults on there, it's small groups, it's only a small group anyway. I sometimes say let's keep the younger teenagers together so they feel more secure with other fellow teenagers. But so I would say from about 15, 16 years of age really up, and they're all ages, so don't think you're going to be the oldest. You're not. One person that signed up on my last group thought she was going to be the oldest, and she was feeling uncomfortable about it and didn't want to put her cameras on. And I said, you will not be. It's all ages, male and female, and they're only small groups, so it's very, very safe. But if you prefer to keep your camera off, of course you can. That's absolutely fine. So drop me an email if you would like to sign up for that course, and do it sooner rather than later because time is ticking on. On Thursday, the 7th of January, this Thursday at 7 o'clock British summertime, I have a 3-week stress management program. So equally, if stress has been the bane of your life and you want to start this year in a good, focused and determined way, and you want to manage the stress, learn some techniques about what your stresses are, what your triggers are, and how you can best manage your stress in your life, it's tailored to you, then equally that may be something that you want to look at. So drop me a line about that one too. Other than that, Happy New Year to you all, and I look forward to talking to you on next week's episode of Life Coaching on the Move. Take care now.